Hey everybody, this is Mr. Storm, and this is it. This is the final project. This is this is for all the marbles and the whole enchilada, whatever metaphor you want to use. This is the one, and I'm excited to see what you guys come up with. This is great. This is a great project. Now, before we move on, I want to make sure I highlight right here at the top. You're listening to it right now. I do not expect your advanced text adventure game to be completely finished. Meaning, I don't need for it to be an entire game that you can play all the way straight through, with every branching path figured out and all of the mechanisms that you want to build completely built in it. This project is huge, okay? Depending on the scope of your project, this could be super, super big. And again, I don't intend for you to turn in a project that is completely 100% absolutely polished and finished and ready to go. As you'll see in my example, my project's not finished yet. I've only just barely started to get, the game implemented the way I want it to. But I have all of the conditions or all of the things that I've asked for here in the assignment description over here. And I got to a point where I was like, you know what? This is good. This is enough. I am going to, this is what you should be thinking. I got everything in there. We got a pretty good idea of where I'm going with this. I've used everything correctly. There's at least one path that you can take, which will, get you through most of the game. And I'm going to go ahead and turn this in. Okay. Again, it's important that you turn this in on time. On time. Even if you don't feel like it's finished. Let me talk about how I'm going to grade this. Oh, sorry. This is literally all I'm looking for. Okay? Look. I want at least one loop. I want at least one array. At least 4 conditionals, if-else statements. At least one switch. At least 3 void methods other than the main. At least one method which accepts parameters and returns a value, and at least one extra class which interacts with the program class. That's it. That's all I'm looking for. That's something that you can hack together in, I don't know, maybe 20, 30 minutes if you're really, dedicated to it. It's not a huge project, but if you try to make a completely full game with an entirely rich storyline and a full combat system and a character creator system where you can kind of generate your own yada, 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 which is good. I do encourage you to go down that path, but you're going to find that it becomes a lot of work, and I'll show you. I intended, so what I did was I gave myself 30 minutes. I said, all right, I'm going to start working on the advanced text adventure game. I'm going to get as many of these items knocked out as I can in 30 minutes. At 30 minutes, I'll stop whatever it looks like at that point. That's the game that I turn in, right? And we'll see what kind of score I get. So again, pay attention to the rubric. The rubric is really going to help you out here, okay? All right, let's take a look at my game so we can discuss what I did, the choices that I made, and maybe you can, kind of get an idea for yours. Okay, I think first of all, let's just go ahead and watch the game. Let's play through the game. Oh, it was already running. Let's go ahead and play the game. So this is the Siege of C# Castle. Get it? SEE sharp castle, but C#. You get it. Okay, so it says press enter to begin. All right. Now I get to choose my character. I get to choose between a warrior, a mage, or a rogue. I'm going to go ahead and choose warrior. And look at me pretending like mage or rogue actually work. They definitely don't. The only one that I've created is the warrior. We'll see that when we get into the code. So I'm going to choose warrior here. So my background color has changed. Your warrior's name Brutus. Do you want to change it? Sure. I'll change my warrior's name. And I'll name him David. Okay. So here's your character. Name David. Health 150. Willpower 20. Dexterity 50. You can add 10 points to one of these attributes. Choose one. Okay. I'm going to add... Hello. Oh. Okay. Bash health command not found. My program stopped running in the middle. Okay. Let's let's get back to where we were. Okay. No, I'm not gonna change my name. Let's health. Okay. So the great warrior Brutus wakes up on the edge of Castle C#. You hear the roar of a large mob outside your window. It seems that the army of JavaScriptia have invaded. Awesome, you yell as you grab your sword. At the bottom of the stairs, you see an enemy giant standing by himself. You see your opportunity to press the attack. Press enter to fight, and it kind of did it without me, so I must have missed a console.read line somewhere. So my attack does 25. The enemy has 75 health. The enemy strikes back and does 30, all the way down until you stagger away from the defeated giant lying on the floor. You look into the distance, knowing the battle is just beginning. That's my entire game, and this is going to be a perfect score on this project. Let me show you the code that it requires to make something like this. Okay, let's push this over to the side so we can take a real good look at the code. Oh, hold on. Let's get it right there. Okay. So let's go up to the top and let's talk about how this program is organized. So inside the main method, we have the intro. I'm calling an intro method, and then a character creator method. All right. So in the intro method, that's this guy right here. We have a console background color dot console color gray and console dot foreground color equals console color red. Now notice that I have some ASCII art in here, right? I created that by creating a new string variable, called it title, and then I put this at the @ sign in front of the string, which basically means formatted exactly the way it's formatted in the console window, or in the compiler window, and that will format it so that the ASCII art maintains its artiness, right? Then, then I output the value of this string. So that's just a string variable. I output the value of that string onto the screen. That's just a simple way to make some ASCII art, make it look good. It's not a requirement for this project. I just figured I would show you guys what you could do with it at some point. And why not the last project of the entire class? So then we have console write line, press enter to begin, and then a console read line. That's just really for me to make sure that the art gets seen and it doesn't go away immediately. So then whenever we're done with that, we can minimize that method. Then we go to the character creator method. All right. So the character creator method has one variable called choice. It's a string variable. And in here, we give them the option to choose their character, warrior, mage, or rogue. Now, you may notice this is pretty close to the character creator program we put together. I made some modifications to it, but for the most part, it's pretty close. I have a switch that's handling our choice here. If you choose the warrior, then you will open up, or you will call a method called warrior story. With mage, it's mage story. And with rogue, it's rogue story. Now, I have not fleshed out. I haven't written mage story or rogue story yet. My intention was to have 3 separate starting points, depending on which character you used, and to have different storylines based on the character you choose. But I haven't written mage story or rogue story. Okay, let's talk about. So that's the character creator, really more like a character chooser. Let's get into warrior story. So in here we have a ton of variables. This is where the bulk of the program is, right? So look, I'm instantiating a new class here, a new instance of the warrior class, which we'll take. Actually, let's take a look at it now. Let's go down here. So I have my warrior class, which is exactly like what we did in the character creator assignment. So I'm instantiating a new version of that up here. I'm setting my name, my health, my willpower, and dexterity to those values that I'm pulling from that class. I have a string choice variable in here. I have an array with enemies inside, so random enemies that I might fight. I'm using a random to figure out exactly which random enemy I'm going to use, and I'm setting its health to 100. Now, I could have used another random to create a random amount for the enemy health to add some more variability to the game, but I just, I didn't do it. I ran out of time. Then I'm changing the color of the screen and the text. Here's where I give them the ability to choose whether or not they want to change the name. So your warrior is named whatever. Do you want to change it? Yes or no? There's an if-else statement right there, or an if statement right there. All right. Let's see. Here's your characters. So we output all their values. Then we say you can add 10 points to one of these attributes. Choose one. And so I have another switch here handling, handling their attributes. All right. And all we're doing is just adding 10 to whatever attribute they choose. And if they type something that's not recognized by these cases, then they just lose those 10 stat points. Oh, well. And then we have the actual, text here for the combat. So this tells them, what's happening. We have our random enemy. And then I have a while loop here, which handles my fight. This is my combat mechanism, right? So we have enemy health equals damage. So we're calling a damage method. And we're passing in the current enemy health and damage of 25. So let's look at our damage method. So it takes in HP and it takes in damage. And then it just basically says HP minus damage, right? Now, obviously, this could be a lot more robust if I really, really, really wanted to. I could flesh this out and make it a lot more, add some more variability in here, add some random stuff in there. I could implement the fact that I have dexterity and willpower. I can have those stats play a role in calculating damage, all that stuff. But again, I just didn't get around to it. So let's see. So we set our enemy health. Each iteration of the loop, we set our enemy health, and then we set our health based on the amount of damage the enemy does to us. And then it goes through the attack sequence. And then whenever enemy health gets lower than 0, or hits 0 or lower, then we break out of the loop and you stagger away defeated. Now, the way I've written this game right now, it's impossible for the enemy to kill me. I always will win, even though it looks like we're simulating, it looks like there could be a possibility of me losing. I can add in a possibility of losing by having a random amount of damage coming from the enemy and having my health be different. You see what I mean? So we can add in the possibility of me losing. And if I did, then we can just, say we can have the while loop based on either enemy health less than 0 or my health less than 0. So as soon as one of us dies, we break out of the loop, and then we figure out who it was who died, and then we move on accordingly. That was the next thing I was gonna program in. But again, I ran out of time. I only gave myself a half an hour. So let's see. Everything here looks good. Now, one thing I just noticed as I was going through, I think I only used one if statement in this entire program, which means I would actually lose points. I would actually lose points on this project if I turned it in like this. So what I may do, just in case, because I want to make sure I'm meeting all the requirements in the advanced text adventure game, because it says at least 4 conditionals right here, and that's a full 20 points. I'd actually lose 15 points on this. This would not be 100%. What I would do is I'd probably look at one of these switches. I have 2 switches, and I'd convert one of these switches into a series of if-else statements just to handle that. Or I would just keep writing the code, and eventually I will get to 4, like way more than 4 if-else statements in my program. Because again, this is just barely started. But it's still good enough for me to pass the class and show that I understand how to use these things, right? Again, remember, I am not expecting you to completely, fully build out an entire epic spanning story that has, eons and generations of yada, 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 and whatever. This is barely even done, or it's barely even started. And like I said, I only gave myself a half an hour, but it's still close enough to a perfect score for me to get a good grade on this assignment. Do not beat your head against the wall trying to make the most perfect, most epic story you'll ever see in your entire life. Okay? I will play your games, I will run through them, and I will read them, and I will pay attention to them, and I'll be really happy and excited if I get something that's really cool and fleshed out and awesome. But if you're running out of time and you just got to turn it in, then just turn it in. As long as you have all the things I asked for, you have a loop, you have extra classes that you're accessing, you have a method which takes in parameters, you have multiple void methods, you have if-else statements. If you have all that stuff, turn it in. You'll get full credit, and you can spend the rest of your time working on it, making it better, right? My goal, my hope, my wish is that when you're done with this class, you actually aren't done with programming. My goal is that you start this project and you go, oh, wow, that was really fun. That was really cool. And I have some great ideas. I want to make it better and make it bigger and expand it. And then you actually finish the game. You put more work into it and you actually build something that's awesome, that you're proud of, that you want to show off. To get a perfect score, you don't need to have this completely finished. Get it good enough and turn it in, okay? All right, well, that's about it for me, and that's about it for Computer Programming 1. Once you get this project done, you're finished with the class. I hope to see you in Computer Programming 2, where we're going to take all of this stuff you've learned, and we're going to apply it to developing 2D games in Unity, where we're moving characters around a screen and dodging enemies and all that stuff. It's a really fun class, and I really hope you join me for it. But if not, I hope you take another one of my classes. If you're thinking, once I get this project done, Mr. Storm, I'm never writing another line of code in my life, so be it. I mean, it's not for everybody. It's definitely for me. I love this kind of stuff. But I won't be offended if as soon as you're done with this class, you're like, I'm finished. But I'm glad that you were with me this whole time, and I'm glad that you learned something new, and I'm glad that you've picked up a skill that maybe you can use to be more creative in the future. With all that said, I'm going to let you go and let you get started on this project. And hopefully I'll see you in Computer Programming 2. All right. Peace.